Alright, so here is my Better Business Bureau complaint against neurologist Kyle Hudgens. And if you're a customer, you pay money to a business and you have some issues with the service, you can file a complaint through their website. I did this. I was a patient, a customer of Kyle Hudgens M.D., and he works for Grandview Neurology. And this is located off of Highway 280, Birmingham, Alabama. Alright, so I was referred to Grandview Neurology from a visit I had at America Family Care. That's AFC, Parkway East, Roebuck, Birmingham, Alabama. And this was on May 30th, 2019. So I had a standard x-ray done during this visit, and it was reviewed as having no injury present. Alright, so I got the original x-ray images, and I'll put them up here. And despite this diagnosis and pronouncement, and I was misdiagnosed because something shows up in these pictures. This was by Anna Maria Echenique, M.D., D.A.B.R., for American Family Care. And in the x-ray images, you can see there is a translucent oval, and it shows up directly below and covering this area where I had pain that sent me around to many doctors and emergency room visits between 2018, 2019, going into 2020. 2021, this wound is still not healed completely. Alright, so despite American Family Care saying I had no injury present, they referred me to a neurologist. So funny how that works, right? So this visit, it was at Grandview Neurology, directly next to Grandview Medical Center off Highway 280, Birmingham. 3686 Grandview Parkway, Suite 600. Alright, so here's my bill from Kyle Hudgens, Affinity Physician Services LLC. So there's another name this business operates under. Alright, so I'll move into the text of my complaint as I wrote this to the Better Business Bureau. And if you want to see all the details about what happened to me regarding this injury, I've got over 10 hours video documentation with all my records, etc., scanned in, and it's on my YouTube channel, My Medical Nightmare. And please search the appropriate names here, and you'll come up with some information on this. Alright, so October 22nd, 2021, and I sent my complaint to the BBB. Alright, case description. So I list here extenuating circumstances as to why I couldn't file a complaint within 1 year's time. And the reason was I was bedridden and dying. I very slowly recovered from this wound in 2018. And as I've gained strength, I've been able to go back and chase after these loose ends. Well, I went around to many doctors, medical professionals around the Birmingham, Alabama area, paid a lot of money, and I received substandard service. And I believe I was a victim of patient dumping throughout this thing. I have no insurance, and I have no source of income. I have no job. So I was a cash pay patient, and I believe this singled me out for this kind of treatment in the post-Obamacare world of American healthcare. I paid $256 to be seen by Grandview Neurology, Affinity Affinity Physician Services LLC neurologist Kyle Hudgens M.D. The doctor engaged in too much irrelevant small talk. When I moved the conversation to my end, he acted offended. I showed him printed and I gave him copies of the discs, CD-ROMs, with my medical records and images. And that's X-ray, CT scans, and MRIs, showing the pebble-sized piece of bone that broke off the underside of my skull, and I was told no injuries or abnormalities were present. I showed him a CT picture from a few days earlier showing a CSF leak, infection, hole in the bottom of my skull, clearly visible head trauma 3 inches plus in diameter in an MRI, CT, and I showed him some x-rays as well. In the image, he asked, Kyle Hodgins, he asked me when I showed him these pictures, well, what did they say it was? Alright, and so then I was told I'd simply strained a neck muscle, and that was his diagnosis pronouncement that he wrote in his records. And he advanced a psychological etiology as well for a purely physical problem I was carrying, and he wrote in my records I was exhibiting aberrant behavior. And I had a chronic infection in my neck below this injury, and basically I was dying at this point. My health was sliding into serious decline. He did not write me any prescription for medicine, and he gave me no referral on to another doctor, and in his opinion was incorrect as well. It was a misdiagnosis, and his erroneous pronouncement adversely impacted future medical professionals' opinions of my injury. Last week I did some videos on my exchange with Birmingham Radiological Group, and they had 3 radiologists who misdiagnosed my x-ray, CT scans, and an MRI scan that I had done at St. Vincent's East Hospital, Ascension, and American Health Imaging. And these radiologists were Angus Baird, M.D. at American Health Imaging, Julian Patrick Druhan, did the x-ray and 2 CT scans for St. Vincent's East, Ascension, and Donald Shane Kelly, who did the CT scan I had with contrast also at St. Vincent's East Hospital. So yeah, when you go around and you have these different medical scans and you take the medical data and you move it on to the next doctor or hospital, yeah, and what's produced in these various medical encounters, this does not exist in a vacuum. But in my case, I got all my records and I took this around with me to these new doctors that I would visit. Alright, and yeah, in this video series I will illustrate how the erroneous pronouncements and the misdiagnosis of the 3 radiologists who are members of Birmingham Radiological Group that I mentioned, that information, it later adversely impacted the medical opinions of otherwise unrelated doctors. See, I took the St. Vincent's East Ascension imagery to Grandview Neurology and Kyle Hudgens. He took the pictures, and yeah, he looked at them, and I gave him a disc, and he left the room where the medical encounter took place, and he went and looked at these pictures, I believe, on a computer for about 10 minutes. And then he came back into the room. So please note here, Kyle Hudgens, when I showed him these pictures, he didn't say, I can't look at those pictures, I don't know what I'm looking at, etc. He took the pictures and he proceeded to review them. Alright, and this is a very significant. Yeah, I asked him what did the pictures look like, and he was kind of cagey, kind of quiet about what his thoughts were. And then he comes back and he asked me, well, what did the doctors and what did the radiologists involved in those scans say the diagnosis was? All right, so I'll move on to Kyle Hodgins' response. So yeah, from October 25th, they gave him until November 9th to answer this. And then after November 9th, the Better Business Bureau will send a second notice, kind of a reminder. And on this day where the second notice was sent, Kyle Hodgins responded. You can see here the text of his response on November 9, 2021. So he writes, "It is regretful that a patient that I have seen is unhappy with the care he received. He seems to have taken issue with my small talk upon meeting him. That is, in fact, my way of starting an exam. The small talk usually puts people at ease if I can find some commonality with them. It is often rather traumatic being sent to a neurologist. The small talk also allows me to begin to observe any abnormal movements or tremors that the patient may have when distracted. Their mental status can be evaluated, as can their body language. Stressors in their life, etc., can be ascertained during that time. Therefore, that time is not wasteful but meaningful to my examination. It is also a fact that the radiologist had already read the scans mentioned as normal. It is also a fact that I did not get a chance to examine the very thing he complained about, as he would not let me even touch his neck. I take every patient seriously and give all the benefit of the doubt as to their complaints. His demeanor was such that I suggested it was aberrant. I would not have been honest by saying anything else in my note, as these notes are medical records of a patient's health. Therefore, a person's affect is a vital part. I'm glad that he apparently received the help that he needed. My notes reflect my honest opinion of his condition at the time I saw him, based on my training and 30 years of experience. Kyle Hudgens M.D."